It's time for
DodgerHeads.
high fly ball into right field. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Birthday party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
Hi, everyone, and welcome into Dodger Heads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, which is part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Matthew Moreno. I'm filling in again on this episode for Jeff Spiegel, and joining me, as always, on pretty much every Sunday night, Anthony Witrado, who I want everybody to know, Anthony is here despite being just a couple days removed from knee surgery. So he's grinding through it. Unfortunately, the Dodgers went through it in their own right, and we're going to certainly get into all that. But Anthony, knee surgery, recovery, thank you for joining us. How's everything going?
Everything's going all right. Spent the last few days just sort of laid up with the leg elevated and watching a lot of Dodger baseball and reading a lot about what's going on. This was a tough one to watch. Made the knee hurt a little more.
Yeah, I was going to say the last couple of days things were trending up, right? Like you couldn't you picked the right time for that surgery to come up because the Dodgers had found their rhythm. It looked like, the Blue Jays went into this series. They still do have it. Best record in the American League. Dodgers put together a couple back-to-back wins. It was looking like they were going to sweep today. And then, let's jump kind of right into it. The bullpen happened. And I know that this has been a hot button topic for at least a month now, obviously, and certainly in the time leading up to the trade deadline. And now I feel like they're really under a microscope now because of how the front office went about addressing the group with basically just trading for Brock Stewart and counting on internal guys to return and pitch well. And one of those is Blake Treinen, and he came in the eighth inning today. Dodgers had a lead, and Treinen right away back-to-back home runs, and just like that, the lead is gone. Dodgers come back and tie it in the bottom half of the eighth, but don't get too comfortable. Alex Vesia's first pitch in the ninth inning, gone, and that ended up being all the Blue Jays needed. We'll get to some of the offensive struggles with the Dodgers, but Anthony, if you want to go big picture, little picture, with Treinen and Vesia specifically, let's just talk bullpen. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I think starting more sort of micro here is that there's just not a lot of good options right now. And today, I think we saw some of that with, what Dave had to go throw out there. And I think they had mentioned that Treinen had been pretty decent in his last couple of outings, but overall, since he's been back, he's not been good.
No.
Vesia has sort of regressed. Brock Stewart has been okay since he's come over, but just basically they are out of leverage arms. And I think, we all sort of said okay, on July 30th, what do we think they're going to do? What's the need here? And we all said leverage type of bullpen arms. And Brock Stewart was a great pickup. I still think that pickup was fine. But the big question there was, did they do enough? And it's the reason why you and I gave them C's or C minuses or whatever the grades were when we did that for trade deadline grades. And it was because did it really improve their biggest need, which at the time, and I think still, is the bullpen. And they got a little better, but they're relying a lot on health and some of these guys coming back into form. And it hasn't happened yet. And so I think looking at today's game, you saw just basically that play out. There was a lot of other issues from strategy decisions to the offense basically stinking. You know what I mean? And so, and then the bullpen stuff. So I think looking at it that way, you can sort of synthesize it that way. And then when you step out and look at the macro, they are really putting their eggs now into the basket of one, everybody getting healthy, and two, the Tanner Scotts, the Kirby Yateses, the you name it, the guys who are all coming back, all of those guys coming back and being elite. And that's looking like a bigger and bigger risk now.
Yeah, that was my my biggest concern with this was, sure, the Blake Treinen has certainly been effective, right? Like we've seen it in the past, and yes, like there was some injury concern with him, but as you mentioned, like you're counting on him to one, be healthy, and two, pitch well. And so far, like is some of it rust? Perhaps. Like I don't know if Treinen, if he's around, is necessarily hanging the slider that he did today for that first home run. Uh, and the same line of thinking now also extends to Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott, because they were important. They're even more important now, seeing that so far. Like, look, there is still time for Treinen to turn things around, but he's not exactly inspiring confidence at this point, and so it's fair, I think, to question what is he going to give you, what caliber relief pitcher will he be. You can hope and say his track record, this, that, and the other, but right now it's not necessarily trending in that direction very much. And so what if the same thing sort of happened? And let's like Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott, like they weren't exactly lighting the world on fire before the respective injuries. And so, yes, that, circling back, tying in the trade deadline and all that stuff. That was my biggest concern and my biggest criticism, and why I gave them such a low grade at the time. And I know you agreed with that. And that being said, this is also who the Dodgers have told us that they are, right? Like the front office, year in and year out, has relied on, hey, Max Muncy's coming back from an injury. We don't need to go and trade for a third baseman or a big bat per se. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going to be back in the rotation last year. And so we don't necessarily, they did get Flaherty because they had so many injuries, but like they could have traded for another starting pitcher. Like they ended up running out even with Flaherty's addition last season. So yeah, I mean, it's concerning. And I did see somebody in the chat a few minutes ago saying, hey, like it's not necessarily all in the bullpen. Yeah, I mean, look, the offense, you got that leadoff home run by Ohtani in the first inning, tied the game. Freddie Freeman hit a home run in the first inning as well. They scored again, I believe it was the second inning when Freeman drew his walk, and then pretty much went quiet until late in the game when Freeman drew another walk with the bases loaded, ironically. A bunch of missed opportunities throughout. Just not I guess a better way to say it is a frustrating game, like to see it sort of unfold. These, on one hand, I think today especially boils down to how do you want to look at things. Dodgers just took 2 out of 3 against the best team in the American League.
Yeah.
That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is they let the game slip away from them. And that ties into our first super chat here in 300. GJW says, defeat from the jaws of victory, bullpen crap, and regardless of advanced stats, Conforto is crap as well. Thoroughly frustrated with this one.
Yeah, I don't think the advanced stats are on Conforto's side anymore. He's just crap.
Yeah, and that's, I don't I know that I sat up here and you and I said, hey, like Conforto is turning things around, and it was still, I still stand by what we saw from Michael.
It was about a month and a half. It was about a month and a half.
I stand by what we said about Michael Conforto having a longer stretch of success is still true. Now, the other reality of that is the trade deadline came and passed, and he has regressed back into what we saw for most of the season. And I agree with people, like at this point, there does need to be evaluations. Like the problem is in terms of like quote unquote solution, like it's pretty much internal options. Like they're sure if there happens to be a veteran hanging out there on a minor league deal who maybe is going to end up opting out type thing or gets DFA'd, yeah, the Dodgers can claim him that way, but there's no trade that they're going to be able to go and make at this point. The other side of the coin, look, Justin Dean is up. I thought that was kind of interesting roster move, especially with Dave saying we want to see his defense in center field, because obviously Andy Pajes has been playing there, and they're not exactly about to bench Pajes. And so does he slide over to left field at some point? But I mean, what do you make of the situation with Conforto at this point? Do you feel any different? Do you feel like they're reaching kind of an inflection point of, hey, we need to decide he's either a bench bat, not with the team, or just stick, headed down this path of he is going to be at least a platoon starter type thing?
I think they've already made the decision. I think that he's going to get the majority of the time there. When you look at Edman, he probably can't play the outfield very much right now when he comes back. And so that sort of relegates you to Andy Paez as your center fielder, and then Teo and Conforto in your corners for the most part. So, I think that question's already been answered. It's just a matter of now, how do they work around it if he continues to be this bad? Because he did have a stretch there from about mid-June through the deadline where he was solid. He was a solid offensive performer. Wasn't great, but he was certainly not the guy who we had seen for the first 3 months or whatever it was that everybody wanted off the team. He was better than that, but he's essentially regressed back to that kind of guy now. And that at bat today was another sort of synopsis of like why everyone's so frustrated with him, right? Like, unless he gets a hit there, like everyone, like all this stuff is going to come back up. And it wasn't just that he made an out. It was the fact that he was ahead in that count. He got a middle pitch that is, if you're going to swing at one, I mean, if you're going to put a barrel on something, that's the pitch location and the pitch type that you want. And he fouled out. You know what I mean? And so in a big situation. So I think we're going to have to live through this for better or for worse with him because it is what it is. And they didn't go and get any replacements that are going to be like the guys that take over for him. If anything, it's going to be the Alex Call gets a spot start like he did here, right? Like it's going to be that type of thing. So it's going to be a frustrating part. I mean, strap in. We've already been here, through the first 4 months or whatever it is. So it might be another 2, but you hope that he can find something again. But the confidence there just isn't. It's not full, and the approach lately also hasn't looked good because that's kind of what it looked like was turning it around for him a little bit. It's more patient, a little more selective, stop chasing, but that's kind of gone away again.
Yeah, and I will say the point I was going to bring up, which Amanda is referencing, and we'll get into a lot of different injury updates later in the show. She says Kike is supposed to be back in September. Looking ahead, if you were somebody who doesn't, and I'm not saying this is going to happen because I don't know if the Dodgers would make like the DFA move with Conforto, like on what they signed him, $17 million. Not that it's $50 million for a year, but it is a significant investment. That's one. 2, they have already paid more than half of that. So on one hand, it's like, well, we're already more than 50% into this contract. Let's kind of stick with it. To some degree, whether it's Dave Roberts, the front office, the hitting coaches, a mixture of both. I would say a little bit of everything. There is a belief in him because they continued to run him out there on an everyday basis where if they didn't believe in him, if they weren't truly seeing some signs, and if you want to agree with it or not, that's certainly your prerogative, but some reasons for optimism, they would have benched him earlier and just said, look, like, we're not playing you right now. We have other options. Like, we're not going to cut you, but we're also not going to play you. They continue to run him out there. Circling back to the Kike point, September, I think, could get interesting because if Kike, he's coming back, it looks like. Haesung Kim is also trending upward. We're going to get into this stuff again in a little bit more detail later in this show. So those 2 guys come back. You do get the 1 extra spot in September because active rosters will expand, and you get 1 extra pitcher, 1 extra position player. What's to say though? Like if they want to keep, the only way to keep Alex Freeland, Kike, and Haesung Kim around is to make a move elsewhere, right? And like, so if my math is correct. Any other position player injured at this point? I don't think so, right? Because Muncie's back.
So
Edman. That's another one in September. Thank you. If you want all those guys back, you're going to have to make some sort of move. Like Justin Dean can get option. Like that's fine. Like that's an easy one. Is the time up on Conforto at that point? But then again, like as much as I think like maybe that's when they look to do it. By that same the argument I just raised, a counter argument to myself, if you will, they would have invested now almost an entire season financially into him. Are they really going to cut bait at that point?
Well, I think the problem with the premise here is that if you do cut bait with him, then you're saying a few things have to happen. You're saying that you think Edman is healthy enough that he can run out there into the outfield however many times a week, which I don't trust it right now.
I think it would be Kike.
Well, okay. Brings me to my next point. He's been terrible.
Fair.
He's been awful. And October Kike and all that stuff, I'm totally fine having him on the playoff roster. Like October Kike is the thing. But he's terrible. He's been terrible. Before he got hurt, he was bad. And that's why he wasn't playing a lot. And then so if you do cut bait with, like, say, Conforto, you're saying some combination of terrible Kike that we've seen this season and Alex Call are your options then in left field. And I just like,
Yeah, that's a good
okay,
point.
like that's not what they got Alex Call for. That's not his role. He's not that good. You know what I mean? So it's just I think they've painted themselves into a corner by hanging on this long with Conforto. Probably the worst thing that could have happened was him turning it around when he did, because it made them, I think, say, okay, we think this is sustainable. We don't necessarily, this isn't a huge area of concern for us right now. We'd rather focus our trade deadline somewhere else, which, depending on who you are, was also kind of underwhelming anyway. So I don't think they cut ties this season. Just because the other options there aren't any better, and so you might as well keep them. I think I think that's how they're gonna see it, whether we agree with that or not. Like, Kike's not the answer, Alex Call's not the answer. So, kind of where do you go? Like, if you run out Alex Call out there every day and he ends up being a 120 hitter, what good does that do you? Right? Like, he's better defensively, but like, you so see what I'm saying? Like, there's issues there no matter what. And this is a problem that they've built on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are great points. I wonder then if maybe the solution, and again, like, there's still, 3 weeks to this, and there are ifs built in with this. Like, we're saying, as much as Dave Roberts is a little bit more optimistic about Kike now than he was, late last week, Ha-Seong Kim is certainly trending in the right direction. I know some of Kim's struggles before going on the injury list were because of his shoulder issue, but he had started a slump just with getting everyday at bats like that. There was some regression that began at that point. Maybe they don't necessarily remove Conforto from the roster then. I wonder, though, if it's an IL thing, like his back. He's been playing through some back tightness this year, and we're gonna buy some time until October, and we'll kick that can down the road, and we'll figure it out then. Speaking of Conforto, real quick, I want to share this quote from Dave Roberts. It was he's discussing the key at bat that he had, and Roberts said, quote, "I mean, you can't ask for a better pitch. 3-1, you get a pitch that couldn't be put on a tee much better. You got to move it forward." That in Dave speak is pretty critical.
As harsh as it gets publicly.
Yes, to come out, like that, like, and so, maybe there is, I don't want to say frustration building, because again, as disappointing as today is, and I understand that, also the reality is the Dodgers just won 2 out of 3 against the best team in the American League. They're tied with the Philadelphia Phillies for, I believe it's like 25 or 26 series wins. It's the most in baseball this year. Yes, like, there's reason for optimism if you want to look that way. That being said,
and the rotation has looked great.
Yes, yeah, we're going to definitely get into that. We have more super chats. My apologies on being a little bit more delayed in getting to these today, but a big thank you. We're up to over 1,000 people joining us on this post-game live show today. We moved it up a little bit earlier. We felt like, given what either the Dodgers were going to be celebrating a sweep, and it was going to be fun to discuss kind of a big 3 wins in a row, or the way it ended up trending was some disappointment and wanting to get some perspective from all you guys. So thank you if you're joining us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. As a reminder, if you are or if you aren't on our YouTube channel right now, please be sure that you subscribe, ring the notification bell. We crossed 90,000 subscribers last week, so a big thank you to everybody who has been with us for that. So now, our march towards 100,000 truly begins, and it's hopefully we'll make up this 10K pretty quickly here and be able to do a fun giveaway that we've been, kind of teasing and sharing with you guys. And also, we are on podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. So definitely rate, review, subscribe there, and check out both. Like, if hopefully, if you prefer podcasts, maybe come check out our YouTube side where you can see Anthony and I and Jeff and Daniel and Blake and everybody that we sort of mix in here. All right, more of these super chats. Bacon Tree says, offense pathetic beyond words. Blake, he's talking about Treinen, not our Blake Williams, of course. Blake was trash. Conforto back to being a fraud. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff we just discussed. Thank you, Bacon Tree. Another one from 300 GJW says their best options are to keep Glasnow in longer than 5.2 innings, 5 2/3 innings at 85 pitches. It's maddening. Yeah, what did you think about that decision to go and get Glasnow?
I was a little surprised. The hit he gave up was a jam shot, blooper, flare that, negative exit velocity, that kind of thing. And so, he struggled with his command for most of the day, and that has to change. He has to change that. But he was mostly effective today, and when he was around the zone, they couldn't really get the bat on the ball, and not a lot of hard contact. So looking to get one more out of him in that situation, I thought would have been fine. With that said, I don't think using your pen for one extra out is what led to all of this madness. Right. But I would have liked to see him been able to finish that sixth inning. But yeah, I think a frustrating way to end the day for Glasnow. But overall, I think when you take a step back and look at the outing, it was pretty good. He just has to, that command has been a little off all season long. And they've hinted that it's a mechanical thing that they're constantly trying to sort of tweak. But I think in general, he was pretty good. And I think when you look at the rotation as a whole and what they've been lately, since they've essentially gotten most of these guys back, it's starting to shape up and look like probably the best rotation in the league right now.
Yeah. And real quick, I want to pause this just because I'm seeing more quotes coming in. Again, if you're not following us on Twitter, Dodger Blue 1958, please do so. That's where I'm pulling all of these. Blake is at the stadium for us today. It says another one from Dave Roberts, quote, "I just felt there was no way we should lose this game today. For us not to win today, it's a frustrating one." So certainly he shares in a lot of that sentiment with a lot of you guys. This one might raise some eyebrows. We just shared what he said about Michael Conforto and how for him that was, pretty blunt considering how he handles things publicly. Dave was asked about Shohei Ohtani trying to steal third base. Was that I believe the seventh inning it was, or sixth inning? I know it was late in the game. Whenever it was, I apologize for not having the correct inning right here off the top of my head. But Dave Roberts said, quote, "Not a good baseball play," and that was something that Ohtani tried to do on his own. So it wasn't a called stolen base. So that's also a little surprising. So I think Dave is also sensing
stupid decision by Ohtani.
I wonder, seeing these quotes from Dave Roberts and knowing him, being around him, you've been around him, understanding how he sort of operates and handles the media. And I know it upsets people because he's not out there doing what he is doing today, which is being, relatively critical, even if it is based and, certainly warranted as these are. Part of me feels like I think he is getting to the point where, hey, like you and I have discussed this when we were I joked that I was constantly filling in for Jeff on nights that they lost. There's losing and then there's beating yourself, right? And the Dodgers were teetering towards beating themselves in a few of those, and we were saying, hey, like that is different than if you just lose. I wonder if Dave feels like they're getting close to that, and you have 2 weekend series coming up against the Padres. It is just getting later in the year. Like this stuff needs to stop.
Yeah, I think the frustration is sort of where it's at with all of us. It's the way they're losing. It's the brand of baseball they're playing. Right, on Wednesday they throw the ball around and lose a game. Today they don't execute in situations where even just kind of average teams would find a way to execute. I think they had 10 hits going into like the sixth inning or something like that, and they had 3 runs, and they had 7 walks from like the sixth or seventh inning through the rest of the game, and they scored twice. Like, I mean, it's a lack of execution. I think it's a lack of at times attention to detail, and we're still continuing. This is what's frustrating too. They're still continuing to make some of those just boneheaded plays, like the Ohtani still a third. Like there's no need for that. There's absolutely no reason to do that at that point. So I think it's stuff like that. And I think you can sort of hear the frustration coming out with him, even with the series win. I think he's looking at it from a bigger picture and stepping back and saying, okay, let's take a look at the last couple months here. This has been too consistent of an issue for us. And his game management decisions today aside, there's only so much he can do in that clubhouse to say, like, hey, guys, focus. Like, what's he going to do? This isn't high school baseball. Like, there's only so much he can do to grown men here to get them to, like, lock in. Like, I'm not sure what people who blame him for these kinds of things want him to say, because there's other coaches working with these guys too, talking to these guys every day. At some point, these are professional grown men. It's on them to understand, like, okay, I got to stop doing this dumb stuff. And we continue to see it, and it's costing them in games. It is.
Yeah. And I double checked right now. It was in the bottom of the 6th inning when Ohtani tried to steal third base. Will Smith, it was first and second. Will Smith had just walked, so he was on first, 2 outs. Freddie Freeman batting. And yeah, Dodgers, let's see, at that point it was 3-2. They were still leading 3-2. Freddie, the way he's been going, like you want to give him, like, whether Ohtani's at second or third, like Freddie's going to probably drive him in on a hit anyway.
Yeah, you don't take the bat out of his hands. And also, that's why I thought the first bunt was really stupid, because the very next thing on that checklist to do, if the Dodgers sacrifice bunt, is you put Ohtani on. And I get Mookie has been better, but Ohtani's your best hitter. He's the best hitter in the league. You want him to have a chance. And to take the bat out of his hands with that decision, to me, was stupid. You don't take away out so that your best hitter doesn't get to hit. Like, I know that's a tangent off into a different subject a little bit, but I think it all sort of falls together for me in what kind of an ugly game this was.
Yeah, and this is another great point Michael brings up. Pinch running Dean was the right move. That was when he came in for Teoscar Hernandez. Pages swinging at the first pitch without giving me a chance to steal second was the issue. Yeah,
Totally
yes, that was that stuck out to me as well. And unfortunately, with Pages, it is sort of, the 1-2 steps forward, 1 step back. I mean, even in the first inning today, great, he's backing up Alex Call the way he should, but then he boots what should have been like a routine ricochet off the wall, and then that allows the Blue Jays to score their first run. The other night, he was running on the pitch and didn't look in, and then was late to pick up the baseball or Dino Ebel on that pop up, and then gets doubled off at first base. And Dave Roberts said that night that that stuff needs to get cleaned up. As much as there has been growth and improvement with Pages, there is still areas where he can continue making strides in. All right, let's see. We have more super chats. Thank you, everybody, again, who's joining us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And certainly thank you for the super chats. Gabriel says, Dodgers deserve to lose this game. Offense looked pathetic. Yes, Treinen and Investia gave up the lead, but the offense left 16 men on base. Can't give away opportunities like that to score. Yeah, I mean, that we just touched on a few of those scenarios. And loading the bases in the ninth inning with, what were you thinking when Dodgers got the bases loaded, 1 out, Ohtani and Mookie are coming up in the bottom of the ninth? How confident are you? At least of extra innings, maybe, if not a win.
Mostly confident. Yeah, I was. I wish we would have had the extra out. You were facing a pitcher who could not find the strike zone for 2 frames already, and you gave him an out. I didn't understand that. Like, just don't make it easier on the other team. And I thought that's what Dave did twice today. Also, like, Ohtani did not look good in the first at bat of the series against that guy, the lefty-lefty matchup there. So it's Ohtani. I'm always going to have confidence in him. Like, it wasn't necessarily like, okay, let's give this out away so that way we can get this matchup, get Ohtani up. Like, it wasn't an ideal situation for him. You know what I mean? So, I thought it was a questionable decision on Dave's part with that one, but I was still confident. Like, top of the order is up, the bases are loaded. I think they can push this one across. Ohtani has I guess he has a good at bat, but like the swings he took at some of those pitches he had no chance.
The first one that he took on that pitch that was out of the zone, I thought, okay, that was sort of like he's selling out and he just guessed wrong.
Yeah.
And he gave himself that one shot. Like, now he's just going to kind of dial it back in. He did foul off a couple pitches, but yeah, it wasn't necessarily his best at bat. Kevin says Ohtani will be eaten alive in the playoffs. I mean, look, the Ohtani discussion, we've had a lot of them recently, and obviously we're having it today as well. Like, on one hand, you go back to Wednesday, like he throw, and I know that it's just 5 innings, but for him, it's his longest outing as a pitcher this season. He hits a home run the other way, like gave up a run, hits a 2-run home run. Today hits another home run. Is tied for the National League lead with Schwarber with 41 homers, leads all players with 11 leadoff home runs this season. Is basically, a 2-something pitcher, 2-something ERA pitcher as he continues to sort of build up. Runs scored, which I know it's not necessarily the best metric, but I saw, a stat that he had 30 more runs scored than the next player in the National League, and that hadn't been done since 20-something.
Which is hard considering the context around this Dodger lineup.
Right. So the does he go through slumps? Yes, I think you and I have sort of landed on, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because of the caliber player that he is, celebrity, however you want to call it, like the spotlight is certainly more intense on him, and there are more expectations, right? Like it's a double-edged sword. Like because he is who he is, you expect him to almost never get out type thing, and that's not entirely
I think
fair.
that's the expectation here. Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, are you worried about Ohtani by any means heading into the playoffs and how he might do at the plate?
No, not at all. Look, he's been the best offensive player in the National League all season. He's been the second best offensive player in baseball all season. Judge has been a better, but yeah, I'm not worried about him. I mean, the Dodgers don't get out of the first round last season if he doesn't hit that home run against the Padres. I think they lose that series if he doesn't do that. So no, I'm not worried about it. I think also him going in as a pitcher is another weapon, and him being healthy, hopefully for an entire playoff run, is going to be a big deal too. Like I'm fine with where he's at. Like he got hot recently. It's just, look, I think everyone expects him to be a perfect player. This was built in. If you ever watched anything that he did in Anaheim, like he's got some chase in his swing. Yeah, when he slumps, he chases. He's susceptible to like those big lefty sort of sweeping kind of breaking balls, sliders, those kinds of pitch. Like he's susceptible to that. Like 99% of lefties are in this league. So he's gonna go through this stuff. But like the whole calling him not clutch, like we've read his leverage numbers on this show 15 times probably this season.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the best. Like I'm not buying that. You got to back it up with some numbers here. It can't just be because today he struck out that he's terrible.
Yeah. Next super chat's from Baseball Geek. 14 walks, 10 hits, 16 runners left on base. This is not winning playoff baseball against the best pitchers. And then he puts in quotes, hope is not a strategy. Yeah, look, I get it, and this is all valid, and the Dodgers should not have lost this game. Like they were in control
I don't think
enough.
anyone's saying that. Yeah. We're not making any excuses for them today. They were awful.
Yeah. So Baseball Geek and kind of just broadly speaking to everybody who's with us, again, on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, thank you for joining. And if you're listening after the fact, thank you as well. If you look at today in a vacuum, sure. Like there are a lot of things that were, quote unquote, unacceptable, shouldn't have happened, so on and so forth. If you expand it a little bit, just 2 days, they won 2 out of 3 against the best team in the American League. And so,
they looked convincingly better than the Blue Jays did too.
Right. Like and yes, that's the next point I was going to bring up. I remember, kind of half joking, maybe about midway through the game last night, like, man, this is the best the American League has to offer. Like Mookie's been terrible, and you're letting him get like he's going off against these guys now. All of a sudden, like this is the best of the American League. So it's again like there are 2 ways to look at all this. I think, and I was trying to find the right moment to bring up this broader point. The reality is, and I know that we have been saying it. I think now we're seeing it with the starting rotation getting healthy and guys getting into rhythm. The reality is, if the Dodgers play up to their potential, there are very few teams that are going to beat them 4 times in, call it 10 days in the playoffs.
Totally. I totally agree. And for as awful as today was, and it was awful, I do not want to sugarcoat that. It was ugly today. Okay. But like you get a couple of those at-bats back, right? And you get 2 singles, you get 2 more singles in those situations, this game turns into a blowout probably. They were on the cusp. And I think that's part of the frustration too, is that I think we all understand that, and the fact that they weren't able to produce that, and then they end up losing the game on top of it is just the ultimate frustration. But I'm with you. I think that considering where the health is right now, the bullpen is still a whole bunch of Riddler question marks dancing around out there. But with what this rotation looks like right now, I mean, that's typically what it's going to come down to in October, is how deep and how good is your rotation. They got the potential right now, if everything holds, to walk into that first series in October with 4 number 1s going. Yeah. Like on almost any other playoff team, any one of those guys can be a number 1. Yeah. And probably would be almost without question. I'm going to take those odds if they can walk in there with that. I still like where this team stands. You want them to get healthier. You want some of the performance to either continue like Mookie or to step up like in the bullpen. But given what that part of the team looks like right now, like that should give us all, it's more than hope. That's real. That stuff's real. And the numbers recently with rotation have shown that it's not fake.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people are commenting that it's a big look. Yes, I recognize the Dodgers have not played to their potential for very long this year. I think some of it has been injuries, some of it has been, in Freddie Freeman's case, and Mookie too, like slumping this long for as long as stretches as they did. So I understand the hesitancy to fully buy in and believe in the team and that it is a big if for the Dodgers to play their potential. Sure. I will also point out that, look, if I had told you 2 weeks ago, hey, Mookie's going to have the stretch that he's in right now where he's going to hit a home run, he's going to start hitting a bunch of line drives, a lot of people probably would have laughed at me. I don't know if I would have believed it myself.
Sure.
But here we are. Like, that's how quickly this stuff can change, right? Like in a week, in 10 days. And so the rotation it took a while, but it has finally, gotten healthy. And yes, now they still need to make it to the end of the season and through October. I recognize that. But that is, happened and is in the process of happening. Mookie has started to, potentially come out of his slump. Freddie Freeman, I think it's safe to say, is out of his.
He's out, yeah.
Shohei Ohtani, I know he had, the bat at bat in the ninth inning today, but we just went over, like, look at his season stats as a whole. I just rattled off a bunch of things that he's accomplished so far. Like, they're kind of building towards, peaking at the right time, if you will, which I know a lot of people get worried about. And again, a lot like this discussion is also funny in the sense that if we were sitting here and the Dodgers were running through the season, how many people would we be having to tell, hey, it's okay? Like, how many comments would we be getting that the Dodgers are peaking too soon? It's only August. They still have to get to September and then October. Like, who cares about this? Wake me up when October gets here.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter if they win 120 games.
It's funny because we've brought this up before, but like, you've heard the arguments about like, oh, they're winning the division by too many games, they're too comfortable, and they don't go in with any intensity. It should be more intense going down the stretch. This is how you get there. Like, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a frustration. Like, if you're going to get to the end of September and things are going to be tight, it's because they didn't play as well as probably we expected them to play.
Yeah. All right. More of these super chats. And Dr. V, I do see yours here in the list. So my apologies. We're a little bit slower on these just because there's some different talking points that we're hitting on. Ravens Moreland says Ohtani lost on sliders down and out. Yeah, I mean, as Anthony said, like, a lot of left-handed hitters are susceptible to that pitch, especially when it is coming from a lefty. And it's just another reminder that as great as Ohtani is, he is still human at the end of the day. Noah says, I think why this is so frustrating is we haven't swept a team in a while, and the timely hitting and bullpen has been bad in all caps if you're listening, for 2 months now. Yeah, look, I understand all the like. Yes, today, Anthony, as you said, they're 1 or 2 timely hits away from breaking this thing open, and the Blue Jays, using a different strategy. It not mattering if Blake Treinen gives up 1, maybe 2 home runs type thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it was certainly, yes, unfortunate, and again, I do understand the frustration. I think let's also, and Noah, I'm not saying you specifically, but after the Dodgers finished their series against the Cardinals, and they went into an off day, and then here come the big bad Blue Jays, who had just made, a bunch of offensive history against the Rockies, best record in the American League. We had a lot of people telling us Dodgers are going to get swept. Dodgers are going to lose 2 out of 3. Dodgers will be lucky to win. Yeah, they'll be lucky to win 1 game. And so I get, like, if before the series started, I had told everybody who's with us in this live show today, hey, Dodgers will take 2 out of 3. I'm sure 99% of the people are taking it. Yeah. So I think 2 things can be true. And I know that that's not this. Look, you guys have been with us long enough to know we're not going to sit here and just, blow smoke just for the sake of doing it. We're not going to say things just to intentionally, rage bait everybody and flip tables, as I like to joke. 2 out of 3 is still 2 out of 3. And I think you can still be upset and disappointed with how today went.
Yeah, totally. Both those things can be true. If we would have done this show yesterday, the whole vibe would have been different.
Yeah, definitely. Mookie Betts 50, who's in here after his game today, is saying I wanted the sweep. Everybody did. Yeah, everybody wanted the sweep. Nobody is sitting here saying like, no, Dodgers didn't need to sweep them. Who cares? Again, it's just balancing, kind of, keeping the perspective, as we like to say. All right, more of these super chats. Noah wants to know, does Ohtani break Babe Ruth's season home run record. He needs 19 more. I'm not sure. Is this as a pitcher type thing, the home run record for a pitcher?
Yeah, I'm not sure which one Noah's referring to. If you can put it in the chat, Noah, we'll keep an eye out. But I would assume he's talking about home runs for a pitcher.
I think so too.
But 19 more homers seems like a lot as a pitcher, right? Is that gives him 60?
Yeah, because that would be that'd be 60. Yeah.
I don't know if Babe Ruth did that as a pitcher.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Noah, let us know, and our apologies if we're not up to snuff with our Babe Ruth history. Yeah, he's saying 60 plus.
Yeah, 60 plus.
Maybe in a career, but I don't even know if that.
Yeah, I think he's probably talking about a season. Does he get to 60? Basically, is maybe what Noah's asking.
He's on track for, I believe, 56.
56, yeah. He's gonna have to get real hot, I would think. And I don't know. I think he could get to 55. I think that's realistic for him. 60 might be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he will go on a little bit of a heater at some point, but I think ultimately he will settle in.
We might be seeing it right now. Like today, that bad aside, we might be seeing the start of maybe a warm spot for him because he's been looking pretty good lately.
Yeah, good point. All right, more of these super chats. Rod says Dodgers had 23 base runners today, 10 hits and 13 walks, and only scored 4 runs. First time that happened since 1982. Yeah, I mean we've discussed it. Like there were missed opportunities, bad at bats, so on and so forth. And I know you guys don't want to hear it. It's baseball. If you go, maybe not 23 base runners exactly, but I'm sure there have been other teams this season, and not that it's any consolation because I know it doesn't necessarily matter, but other than adding the perspective, the Dodgers probably aren't the only team who have ever stranded 20 base runners and lost in a game today type thing. 20 plus.
It's a good recipe for losing.
Yeah. Dr. B, here's your super chat that I promised we were still getting to. He says, why is Mookie Betts getting caught stealing? They keep saying no right field because he's lost a step, but his garbage truck speed, and then Freddie hits a home run.
My dad brought this point up to me. He was like, if Mookie would have just stayed, And so a couple of things here. For all the people who are Mookie doomers and saying because he played short is why he's terrible offensively, he needs to go back to right. Part of the reason why you've seen why he's not an elite right fielder anymore is that lack of speed. That's a huge part of it. He's not a good right fielder anymore. He's okay, but like to all the people saying like he's this really good defensive right fielder, why would they move him and yada yada, and it's going to help him if he moves back. He was terrible last year when he went back to the outfield offensively. And he's not their best option in right field. He was better than Teo. Like I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I was going to say the Dodgers.
Dodgers saying like he's defensively he's a better shortstop now than he is a right fielder. And then the other thing with this is, and this is the part my dad brought up, if Mookie's still on base, like we don't that might not be the same pitch they throw Freddie with the guy on. Like all of that's like that, living in those kinds of worlds of if this didn't happen or if this thing happened differently, the other result would have still been exactly the same. We don't know that because they might have pitched Freddie completely differently in that situation. He had the bases empty there with 2 outs, was it 1 out there? I forget. But the bases are empty. And so he throws Freddie a pitch that he can handle and Freddie hits it out. So, I don't think 2 + 2 in those situations always equal 4. There's a little nuance there and some different context, but I agree. Mookie probably shouldn't be trying to straight steal there.
Yeah. Gabriel says Ohtani's final at bat could have been better. Yes, definitely agree. I mean, like I said, Gabriel, if you were with us maybe 10 or so minutes ago, I thought that Ohtani, that big swing that he took on the pitch low and away was sort of his chance, like he was giving himself a chance to hit one out, and maybe he was guessing and guessed wrong, and then he was going to lock in. He did foul off a couple pitches. He did take a borderline pitch up at the top of the zone. So like, I wouldn't say the at bat was necessarily all that terrible. Just there were moments in it that were terrible, and how it ended certainly was.
Yeah, I think the whiffs were really bad, but the at bat overall was like competitive. But the whiffs were some ugly ones.
Like if he struck out on 4 pitches, took 2 big swings, missed both of them, fouled one, whatever the case is, like I could understand it. But again,
and he took and fouled off some really tough pitches. It was the whiffs that looked pretty bad. He was overmatched on those swings and misses.
Yeah. Another super chat from Baseball Geek says, hope that Yates and Scott coming back better than how bad they were before the injured list.
Yeah.
Starting pitchers are solid, but the later innings is how playoffs are won.
Agree. I agree. Yeah. They have to be better at that back end of the bullpen. And they have to be reliable. I think that Dave can't continue to I should say this. If he's put in a position where he has to continue all through October to match up everywhere late in those games, like 8th, 9th inning type of situations, they're going to be in trouble. I think even if it's okay to say that we don't let's say it's Tanner Scott, he's healthy and he's pitching pretty decently. I'm okay with them not locking him into that role. Like today, they brought Treinen in the 8th because he was facing 2, 3, 4, right? It didn't go great. But I understood that situation and in that situation, given who's available and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So if those are what the bullpen looks like going into the playoffs, I'm a little nervous. I do think they need a little more certainty with performance there. So hopefully those guys do come back and are right, because I think if he's constantly trying to juggle and who's kind of got it today or, who's looked good the last couple of outings, that's a recipe for disaster, I think.
Yeah. And you know whose name we haven't mentioned today that could potentially loom large in this? Ben Kasparius.
Yeah.
He got the one out today. He came in for Robleski after, kind of a short appearance for Robleski, faced just the 3 batters, retired 2 of them. Kasparius came in, got a quick out to end the inning. He's been, inconsistent and sort of on a little bit of a roller coaster ever since the Dodgers started kind of yo-yoing him in and out of the rotation. I feel like if you go back to that point when they said, yeah, we're putting him in the rotation, from that point to now, there naturally was going to be some regression because he was so lights out that,
right.
Nobody's no pitcher or very few pitchers are going to go through the season with a 1, ERA type thing. So sure, there was some expected regression there, but he definitely, and I don't know if it was, he won't use it as an excuse, I'm sure. So, and I don't want to sit here and say definitively that kind of going to rotation and then back and then actually being a piggyback for Ohtani and then, now you're a reliever again. I'm inclined to believe that could potentially be playing a part in some of his struggles, but if he gets back on track that certainly shores things up from a right-handed side.
He's
as
a
well.
Big piece.
And dare I say, Bobby Miller is insurance to all these guys. Hey, look up his stats down in OKC.
I know. We have been silent on that. Aside from making jokes like this, we've been purposely silent on it because I think no one wants to jinx it, and also I think people are worried to speak it into existence in case it does need to happen. But Bobby Miller has looked really good out of the bullpen at OKC.
Yeah, so I do think that he is still that's if.
We'll get into this, man. Do you think, and it doesn't have to be long, but do you think if he continues to do this, he's a realistic option for them?
Only from the standpoint of which I'm not sure what Gratterall's outlook is for this year. I'm not necessarily counting on him,
I'm
but
not counting on it, yeah.
He would have to be unavailable or just not effective. Something would have to happen with Yates. Something would probably have to happen with Alexis Diaz in terms of either her, I don't want to wish injury, but either an injury or they're just not effective.
Sure.
I think he's still, 3rd or 4th on the depth chart in terms of potential option, because also let's remember Emmett Sheehan's starting right now, but he's,
he's a bullpen piece.
He will be going into the bullpen, but they might try to keep him, maybe in kind of the long reliever sort of swingman role if they still need something like that. So maybe he's not the short inning guy.
I think if they can get some of these bullpen issues, because we talk about guys having to be healthy and having to be back to expected performance levels, Scott, Yates, Kopech, talking about those guys mainly,
Kopech,
right?
That's another one.
But if we get into October and the rotation is healthy and you end up with Sheehan and Kasparius in those kinds of roles, that does sort of change the outlook of this bullpen, because I think you look at a guy like Sheehan who can give you 6 outs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is kind of like 2 arms. So it won't look exactly like this. You know what I mean? And so I think that aside from really hoping for those other guys to get healthy and perform, the Sheehan and Kasperius part of this is real, and it's a thing that the Dodgers might end up leaning on to make that bullpen, like, to really solidify it. And I think that's realistic. I think that's a realistic possibility, because I think both those guys have either shown or will show that they can succeed in those kinds of roles.
Yeah, and speaking of Kirby Yates, bringing him up reminded me of the video that I sent you guys of Dave Roberts discuss. So his injury, Kirby Yates is put on the IL with lower back discomfort, I believe is what they called it. But Dave pretty much immediately when it happened said, yeah, we're not sure if it's the back, the hips, the pelvic area. So, we're going to send him back to LA. This happened while the Dodgers were on the road to get an MRI, some, further testing, this and that. So there was a follow-up over the weekend. I'm pretty sure it might've been this past Friday. Dave was asked if the Dodgers had any more clarity on Kopech, and his answer, man, you guys love Dave Roberts injury updates. So go check out our video on YouTube, because I wouldn't do it any justice other than to say it's a must watch. And Anthony, I sent it to you kind of joking, saying, hey, I hope your doctor was a little bit more clear with your injury than this, because it was a lot of words, but not a whole lot of meaning or clarity behind them when he was
it was just a lot of words.
Yes.
They didn't mean a whole lot.
I'm pretty sure if you go to our YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure it was Friday. So our pregame video Friday night, Dave Roberts discussing, you'll have to kind of scroll through there to find it, but definitely go do that. It was entertaining. Super chat from Michael says, fortunate, and then he puts in parentheses for now. First series versus Padres is at home. I mean, I don't know if it really matters a whole ton whether they were playing in San Diego or Dodger Stadium at this point. Honestly, considering they just took 2 out of 3 against the Blue Jays, if they were to take 2 out of 3 or sweep the Freeway series and kind of have some quote unquote, I know Blake will love this, momentum, or just playing well, period. Yeah. Like I would say, hey, yeah, send them down to San Diego. Like, they'll be fine. I mean, are you putting any stock in the back-to-back weekend series, the first one being at home versus at Petco?
Not really. I not really. And it feels like the pitching matchup is going to work out for them. Both times, if everything sort of stays, how it's been, I think they match up well. So no, I know this is kind of a weird thing to say, but the Padres are a good team, but they don't scare me right now. And I say that I probably wouldn't have been as optimistic a month ago, but I think with Snell and Glasnow back and the way the rotation looks right now, Ohtani building up to 4 or 5 innings, I'm bullish on the Dodgers, even with all of their flaws and even with what the bullpen looks like. I think long term, I'm more bullish on them than I am the Padres, and even the Brewers, whose offense is sort of like bubblegum and string a little bit. I was texting this weekend with one of their beat reporters, and the pitching in Milwaukee is real. It's the real deal. But the offense is every night it seems like something weird happens that gets them the win. You know what I mean? And so a ball hits a base and it should have been a double play and it ends up leading to 2 runs. Stuff like that is happening in Milwaukee. But I think that when you look at just rotations, which is kind of what it ends up coming down to when it matters the most, that's what you look at. I think the Dodgers are better than those other teams. Yeah.
Matty Man is saying, let me see if I can find it. The San Diego series is going to feel like the LCS.
He's right.
I will say, I especially down in Petco, I've been down the atmosphere, it's intense down there. There's certainly no love lost for the Dodgers when they head south on the 5 freeway now. So yeah, I said it before, I'm looking forward to these next 2 weekends. Baseball is a long season, and when you get these matchups, it's fun. And I know that, sure, we'll have to see mathematically where the Dodgers are at in the NL West, and maybe first place is up for grabs. That'll just make it more entertaining, more exciting for a middle of August series.
We had these situations last year too, when people were telling us that the Dodgers weren't going to win the division, and the Padres were just so much better. This might be a situation, we're talking about all the sort of lackadaisical play and the lack of focus or attention to detail, that kind of stuff. Maybe for a team like the Dodgers, it's a series like these coming up against a team like that's chasing them. Maybe that's what it's going to take to snap them back into focus and go, okay, now it's time to turn it up. It kind of happened last year. We saw it last year in September. It wasn't August. I think it was September, but maybe that's what it takes, that sort of playoff-like intensity and atmosphere against a team that they know hates them. Maybe that's the turning point. We'll see. I think we're searching a little bit for some of these benchmarks in the schedule, but maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it's going to take. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. But first is the Freeway Series. Can't overlook the scrappy Angels who went into Dodger Stadium and had their way with the Dodgers earlier this year. J.Y. Kim says, can Bobby Miller return to a starting position somewhere? From his recent interview, it doesn't sound like he's given up on that possibility. Yeah, I mean, look, I think the relief move to the bullpen right now is sort of circumstantial. I think it is something with the Dodgers specifically that they have probably always sort of kept in their back pocket, the back of their minds internally of, hey, like if he doesn't get his walk issues sorted out type thing, like we might have to pivot to this. And considering the state of the bullpen when they made this change, like it now was sort of the perfect time to give it a shot for at least the rest of this year. I think if he shines in it, I think actually no matter what, they probably give him a chance to be a starter again at the beginning of next year. But if he falters in that sense again, then I think he'll be, kind of back to sort of, at least with the Dodgers, bullpen only. And then, with another organization, perhaps. But I think once you sort of get labeled as kind of like that, and failed starter is a tough way to put it, but sort of like failed starter, now you're a relief pitcher. It's difficult to shed that label, I think.
Yeah, I think with this organization, there's going to have to be a massive transformation in his makeup for him to be a starter again. I think for him, he's going to have to sort of revitalize his value. And either it's with another organization where he becomes a starter in the big leagues, or he becomes a sort of career, like 4A kind of guy for the Dodgers. Or if they think, look, we don't see you in our rotation, especially with what it looks like long-term with Yamamoto and Sasaki and Snell and Glasnow and Ohtani. Like, where does Bobby Miller fit, right? Sheehan, River Ryan. He might have to say, if I want to stay in this organization and see big league time, how do I become a dominant reliever? How do I become a back-end piece to this bullpen? Like something like that. Because I don't think it's going to be with this organization that he returns as a starter.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, look, he could look no further than somebody like Michael Kopech, right? And Kopech was a former starting pitching prospect, heralded this, that, and the other, just couldn't stick in that role and became an effective reliever, was dominant for the Dodgers last year. So, there is a little bit of a blueprint. And Kopech and Miller wouldn't be, the first two pitchers to sort of head down that path, but just a recent example and one that's already in the organization for him to look at.
I mean, Eric Gagne is one of the best relievers in the organization's history, and he was a failed starter. But look, most relievers are failed starters. Almost all relievers are failed starters at some point. So, like, he wouldn't. Yeah, you're right. He wouldn't be the first guy. But if he's having that kind of success, and that the Dodgers think that's real, like rosters get expanded. Let's see what it looks like. I'm all right with that. Like, I'm okay with giving him a chance there. But as far as rotation, like, I don't see how he breaks in anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Parker saying Mason Miller was a starting pitcher. That's another great one. And the Padres might be moving him back into the rotation to justify giving up 8 players for.
And if you remember, was it? I think it was Kopech, right? Like early on in the trade talks, he was like he didn't want to go to anybody unless they were open to the idea of him becoming a starter again. Was that? I think
during the offseason after they won the World Series, he expressed interest in becoming a starter again. And I remember thinking, like, this is strange. Yeah. Like, what are you
not on this team, buddy?
Yeah, like great, like fine, but that's also just kind of weird. But anyway, Aaron Garcia says, winning a series has never felt so frustrating. In all honesty, good series, but hot dang, Dodgers left runners on base like I get left on red. Well, Aaron, I'm sorry to hear that you get left on red so much, but look, I think this does sum up, a lot of what we've been discussing this entire show is, yes, like you get to today with a chance to sweep, you get your lead, you get what you get from Glasnow, Kasparius, Robleski, sort of, the bullpen is holding initially, and then you go to somebody like Blake Treinen, who, as much as he is just off the 60-day injury list, he's somebody you want to be able to rely on, probably going to need to rely on him, and he gives it the back-to-back home runs. Vesia has been effective, for most of this season. He gives up a home run. So how today happened, how the series ultimately ended, plenty of frustration, But yeah, the other side of it is they did take 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sentiment is understandable, right? Like, it's the curse of high expectations and having lived up to those expectations in the past, meaning last fall. You want more frustration, like go be a fan of the Cubs or the Braves or the Mets right now. Like seriously, like it's ugly over there on those chats. We got it relatively good even with a loss like today. But with that said, like the Dodgers goals are different than I think most organizations in Major League Baseball. Like they are on a win it all or bust kind of campaign right now. And that's what happens when you sign Ohtani and you trade for Glasnow and you get Snell and you sign Yamamoto and like all these things they've done over the last couple of winters. And they're 1-for-1 so far. You know what I mean? In that window opening. So yeah, I think we're going to be frustrated now for a lot of the next however many years because it's all or nothing for us. And that's what the Dodgers signed us up for. And we're fortunate to be fans of a team, I think, that has those sorts of expectations because, again, there's not a lot of organizations who operate in this way. Even if you didn't like what they did at the deadline or you thought they should have signed somebody else, like this team makes moves to keep their window open.
And as if you're not watching, if you're just listening, Dodgers, Raiders, everything says, don't forget about the Yankees, and then a laugh.
How could I leave out the Yankees in that group? Yeah, they're the worst of the bunch.
Yeah, I mean, and Aaron Boone got ejected. I'm pretty sure it was today. Arguing balls and strikes. So yeah, it's things are certainly difficult in New York right now. All right, let's get to some injury updates. Then we want to make sure we leave enough time to answer your guys' questions at the end. We've been alluding to Kike Hernandez and his potential return. Dave Roberts did say today that Kike was, quote, pain-free, and he's starting to do some baseball activities, but they're still looking at probably September 1st is when he would be activated, which makes sense, just given the roster construction right now. Like, why?
Yeah, they don't want to dump anybody right now.
Yeah, why force your hand, kick that can down the road? And Kike has also been out for a decent amount of time, so he needs enough, and not even been on the injured list, but been actually like shut down for a brief period because of a weird injury, like left elbow inflammation is what they've called it. He said he heard it on a slide into home plate, had a PRP injection, had cortisone shots, and nothing seemed to really take until recently, but he's trending back upwards. So that is certainly encouraging. Michael Kopech is supposed to throw another bullpen tomorrow. Kirby Yates is also going to be facing batters down in Anaheim. Let me see. I'm trying to find here in our notes where we had. I apologize. I forgot what date Kirby Yates was going to be, but he's then closing in on a rehab assignment. Biggest news probably from this weekend, Roki Sasaki. He pitched 3 innings of live BP on Friday, 46 pitches. Velocity got up to 97. Sat pretty much 95, 97 the entire thing. And now he's going out on a rehab assignment. So he's starting that with Oklahoma City on Thursday. Dodgers have been vague about how long it'll sort of be, but they do want him to build up basically to 5 innings, 75 pitches type thing. The most interesting aspect with Sasaki, Anthony, that I found is Dave Roberts basically saying that, yes, we're going to build him up as a starter and stretch him out, and then we'll kind of figure out where things go for the final month of the regular season / October. Do you see any scenario where Sasaki is in the bullpen?
I honestly don't.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he's even going on this rehab assignment, in all honesty. Like, I thought we had seen the last of him. I think that they may be bringing him back for some September starts, which is great. If they're confident enough and he's healthy enough to do that, fantastic. I want to see more of him. I just don't see them putting him in that situation in the playoffs. The only way I think it's possible is if he just has to be lights out, and like maybe he gets 3 starts in September before the postseason, and he is just, he gives them like 20 innings and he gives up like 3 runs or something like that, right? And the strikeout stuff is back and the fastball velocity's back. The 2-seamer works for him. Then I could see them going, okay, this might play up in the bullpen a little bit in October. I could see that being a conversation. Aside from that, it doesn't feel realistic for me with him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I thought they would delay his rehab assignment until closer to the end of this month so that they could say, hey, like he is back to pitching just to feel good to finish this year.
Yeah.
But we ran
Confidence
out of time.
going into the offseason, all that stuff.
Yeah, ran out of time for him to potentially be a factor for us. I mean, look, maybe some of this, and give the Dodgers credit if this is the case, is being prudent on their end, because as much as they're in this position where it looks like they have too much starting pitching, we have seen over the past few years how quickly that can change. And so all of a sudden, like, if unfortunate scenarios happen and you need Sasaki to start, well, then he's built up and ready to go for you. But in terms of the bullpen specifically, and to Sasaki's credit, he was asked about a potential role change for the playoffs, and he said, whatever the Dodgers need type thing, he's open to. I'm with you. Like, I don't see them doing that, because it changes your routine. Like, it change, even if you say, hey, like, we're just going to have an opener for the first inning maybe, and you're coming in the second inning to pitch, out of the bullpen, but give us bulk type thing.
But yeah, I mean, if they're healthy going in, they're not going to need an opener this year.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good point. So yeah,
for me, it's with him. It's like he's a rookie, and even if he does come out and perform as a starter in September and he looks good, there's just so much uncertainty in that role, and especially in the postseason where every hitter matters that you're facing. And so to sort of lay this on him and to say, like, we're going to trust you when we've never, ever seen you do this ever before, it feels like a stretch when they know they have other guys like Sheehan who could convert into those kinds of roles.
Yeah, that definitely makes more sense. But hey, we'll see how things go for
in a little. To discuss the bullpen a little bit more quickly, I did see some quotes that Dave Roberts said that they may move Treinen into some lower leverage situations going forward until they feel like he's back to getting things right.
It makes sense, but like we've discussed at the beginning, opening moments of this show, the options, there aren't a ton of options right now.
That plan goes up in flames real quick, depending on the game situation, for sure.
Yeah. Because like you have Brock Stewart, and not that he's been terrible by any means, but I think he's fallen a little, and there is more scrutiny. Brock Stewart's under a bigger spotlight because of circumstances out of his control. Like, it wasn't his doing that he was the only relief pitcher the Dodgers traded for.
Yeah.
But that's the reality. And so now the expectations are, hey, you're the big bullpen piece. Like, you need to be dominant. And he hasn't been that yet. And he's owned up to that. Like, after his last time struggling, he said, I need to be better. So he knows that. But yeah, I mean, if that sounds great in theory, I guess if Ben Kasparius, trends upward, then you can swap him with Blake Treinen. But as you mentioned, that can be your plan. But if you start looking through options and things change, then what? Like, Treinen's pitching, the eighth inning again.
Yeah.
All right. Let's answer some questions. As a reminder, if you could just start it with the word question in all caps, that makes it easier for Anthony and I to pick out. And if you are with us on YouTube, if you want to make sure yours gets answered, you could still do super chats. We're taking those until the show ends. We'll go another maybe 15, 20 minutes or so, depending on how many questions we get from you guys. And as we're waiting for these to come in, Anthony, I don't know if you've seen the craze that is, I believe they're calling them pocket pancakes. The Brewers manager. So that's the reason for their winning streak. I don't know if you're aware.
I told you, yeah. So it's the reason for the flood in Milwaukee. I mentioned earlier, I was texting with one of the beat guys this weekend on Friday and Saturday. We were going back and forth, and the whole reason why that conversation started is a good buddy of mine. And I said, can you guys stop promoting this pocket pancake garbage? Like, it's annoying. It's all over my timeline. Like, it's stupid. Stop. But yeah, it's if people don't know, they were doing a pregame media availability with Pat Murphy, who's the Brewers manager. And as they were talking to him, it must have been a day game. And so it was in the morning. He pulls out from like his jacket pocket or pants pocket, I forgot where it was, but somewhere out of his pockets, pulls out pancakes that he had from breakfast and starts eating them as he's talking to the media. And then it just blew up, and they haven't lost since that happened. So now, like, they're TV media members, and like they're all doing like pancake like segments, and it's everywhere. It's annoying.
He did that interview, and then he did where honestly I saw it blow. I missed that one. I saw it blow up with I think it was an Apple TV game that the Brewers were on, and
I think that was like part of it was already going on, and so they wanted to capitalize on that.
Okay, yeah, and then she ate. Like, he pulled one out, like, asked him about it, and then she took a bite, and that's when it landed on my radar. Yeah, Laura's saying that is actually disgusting. I agree. Like
I agree.
one of my first thoughts were like, that can't be good. Like that's kind of gross to just bring it out, like not wrapped or anything. The question I was going to ask you, and actually I'll save it because it is food related, and we do
Okay.
we do try to tell people that we leave food stuff for the end. So if I forgot what I think it was Miguel. I haven't seen him in here, but Miguel, you'll be happy to know food stuff has not started yet. Felipe says, which NL or AL team would match the Dodgers rotation in a 5 or 7 game series? He's projecting Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani, maybe even Kershaw and Sheehan in a Dodgers rotation. You brought this up earlier. I mean, let's just take those top 4 that you listed, because that's I think that's a safe bet, obviously assuming health type thing. Is there a rotation that really? I mean, you meant the Brewers. They have some pitching talent there, certainly.
Yeah. The Brewers are solid. It's just sort of kind of looking here. I've looked at this recently, but like to answer the question, I think the Dodgers are the best of the bunch. The Brewers do have a pretty solid rotation. The Phillies, they're not bad. When you talk about in the National League, I think the Dodgers rotation stacks up really well against San Diego's. And you look in the other league at the leaders, they're better than Toronto's. I think they're deeper than Detroit's. No one in the West really scares me, like from a depth perspective either. Like I think I'm taking, if they're healthy, because this is the only team, and it's not even close, that can say all 4 of those names, Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani, could be legitimate number ones on any other rotation. Anyone.
Yeah.
And they're all in the same rotation here. And I think that's why the Dodgers built this thing, is to say, if we go into October and we might have other issues, if these guys are there, we're the favorites. I think that's how they feel. And just from a rotation standpoint, I don't think anyone matches up with them as well. Because I think once you get like past the second guy, for every other team, just about, it gets really shaky. And the Dodgers are going to go with like Glasnow and Ohtani.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Like, imagine, it's a swing game after splitting the first 2 games. Not, I guess that's not worst case scenario, but you split the first 2 games, and now, here comes you're facing Ohtani, and at that point, he will be built up to 5 innings, so a little bit more of a traditional starter, if you will. And it'll be interesting to see if maybe this October, Dave Roberts, the script sort of flips from last year, where he actually pushes and leans on the starters a little bit more than certainly last October and maybe years past.
I think that's the hope too. I think it's the hope with just being healthier, not having to use bullpen games, hopefully, and also like with the bullpen depth being what it is that if all of those guys can go out there and give them 6, then I think they feel like they're going to be sitting in a pretty golden place.
Yeah, shortens the game, as you would say in baseball. Hawaiian Kira is saying, so no punting in the postseason.
Yeah, I think Kira may have asked this a little earlier too. I saw it going through as I was scrolling. And if it was somebody else, I apologize. But yeah, I think, Kira, that is the idea, is that the whole reason that they were punting these things before was because they were having to look after the bullpen in a certain way last October, because they did not have enough starting pitching. And I think that this time around, they're going, look, we got a legitimate ace type of frontline starter going every time we have a playoff game. And if that's the case, we're going to at least count on 5 innings from those guys. And if we don't need them for more, like chances are they're doing it because they're up 3 or 4 runs already. And maybe they think that they can save somebody. I don't know if they go into with that mentality, but I think the idea there is no more punting, because we're giving ourselves a legitimate chance right off the bat for every game. And we know now that these guys can all give us 6 innings. And I think for now, like you saw with Glasnow's pitch count today, I think it ended up around 90, took him out before he finished the 6th inning. We talked about that a little earlier. I think they're going to do that during the regular season with the hopes of like, they can get these guys over the 100 pitch threshold in the postseason.
Yeah. Trying to pull it up here. Let's see. Glasnow ended up 86 pitches. So yeah, pretty much 90. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Next question is from J.Y. Kim. Says, for Rocky's sake, are there any negatives if he doesn't make the postseason roster? I mean, the only negative that potentially could come would be, I don't want to say ego, but for him, like if he feels like, oh man, I lost so much of my season to the shoulder injury and now I can't even come back and contribute. That's one way to look at it. As you know, on the show, we like to try to find some silver linings and optimism and big picture things. The other side of it is, look, first year, like he's adjusting to Major League Baseball. He's adjusting to living in the United States. Didn't go how anybody would have wanted or planned. Chalk it up as a learning experience. Go into the offseason healthy, come back to spring training. Maybe a different, like Dave Roberts has already said, he is stronger. He's got more muscle to his frame. Continue, a good workout program during the winter and come back next spring and look to build on on what this year, what you thought this year could have been. So not a whole lot of downside other than like if he feels bad and gets down on himself. But other than that, I mean,
I think the only way it could be a negative is if like he comes back in September and makes a few starts and they don't go well.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I didn't factor that in. I forgot.
Other than that, I think he's fine. I think he understands the situation. He's the low man on the totem pole. Hasn't pitched most of the season. When he had pitched, it was bad. And then you're trying to break into a rotation that has Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani. Like, I think he'll understand if he's not in that rotation.
Yeah, I think so too. Kevin says, do you guys believe this team can still repeat? I don't know, but I don't have that vibe from this team this year. Feels like 2018. I mean, yeah, look, I said earlier why I think the Dodgers are still I think we saw it this past weekend. I think we've seen it in spurts so far this season where when they are, I'm not even saying going crazy, but just kind of meeting normal expectations for a Freddie Freeman, for a Mookie Betts, for a Teoscar Hernandez. Like the lineup can be as good as any in baseball. And then you layer in, as we've discussed throughout the show, the starting rotation is now finally healthy, and knock on wood if you want to. And we're seeing what that can sort of look like when you're not having to rely on a bullpen game every 5 or 6 days or a spot starter. And no disrespect to those guys who have come up and tried to do it. That's a difficult position for any pitcher, any organization to get called up and start, once every 2 or 3 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, I think they certainly can. I don't know if they will because we haven't seen them put it together for a sustained stretch. The beauty of all this, as we've seen with teams in the past, and we saw it with the Dodgers last year, if you get hot at the right time and enough, things sort of click and go your way, then anything can happen in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that I still like their chances because at this point last year, we were already seeing the writing on the wall that this rotation was in trouble.
Yeah.
And this year we're sort of we're rolling into August like, oh man, they might be getting healthy at the right time now. Yeah. So I think that there's optimism there. And also aside from that, I don't see anybody else in baseball really like going, we are hands down the best team in baseball. Like everyone has significant issues. For as bad as the Dodgers have been over the last 2.5, 3 months, like kind of like they've been a little mid right here and there. Like they've hovered around 500 for a big part of that. The Padres have never tied them in the division. So for all, I know that they changed the complexion of the team at the deadline in San Diego, but like, they weren't necessarily running down the Dodgers when the Dodgers were playing bad either. Yeah. You know what I mean? And again, with the Brewers stuff, like they're good. Their pitching's legitimate. I just don't know if the offense can handle, like, let's say they get into an NLCS situation against the Dodgers and that offense has to face those 4 guys we talked about. I would take the Dodgers over the Brewers in that kind of situation. Because for me, it's going to come down to starting pitching. I think that's what's going to make or break teams, especially when everybody has flaws.
Yeah. And Kevin, in terms of not having the vibe with the team this year, I mean, going into the playoffs last year, I did not see any scenario where the Dodgers were going to win the World Series, mainly just because they had run out of starting pitching.
It was tough. It was tough to see. Yeah.
Like relying on your bullpen, like bullpen reliever, Blake will sit here and tell you like relievers are volatile. You can't trust them one year to the next. You can't trust them one night to the next. So to look back on what the Dodgers did, and then I know a lot of our viewers, listeners don't necessarily think all that highly of Dave Roberts' in-game decisions, but for that to kind of get pieced together, like was improbable, honestly. And so, sometimes you don't always necessarily have the feeling that they're going to win World Series. Yeah, Maddie Man saying no one but Blake Williams picked the Dodgers last year. Yeah,
I had them winning it last year. I did have them winning it when we went into the playoffs. Like, I was also one of the more bullish people going into like the end of the season. Remember, it was probably around this time when they were scuffling, and I said I think it was when I made my prediction, like they're going to win this game, this division by like 5 games or more. And like
you got it. You wore that for a little bit.
I did, and they won it. I think they won it by 5 games. And then going into the postseason, after they had beaten the Padres in that last week of the season, even with the question marks, it was sort of what I mentioned a couple minutes ago, where like all these other teams were so flawed. I was like, if they could just get through some of this, like I think they'll be okay. The rotation was obviously the biggest question for me.
Yeah.
And I think this year, knock on wood, it could be their biggest strength.
Yeah, I think it'll have to be. I mean, you look at like assuming that they all stay healthy, like similar to Dave Roberts going up to learning after the fact that he went up to Walker Buehler last year and said, "Hey, we need you to." He's going to have to sit down his rotation and say, "We need you guys to be the aces that you are to carry us through this playoff run." But yeah, great question. Nicholas says, as of now, how would you rank the NL playoff teams? To me, the Phillies and Brewers look like the biggest threats outside the Dodgers right now.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's fair. They're certainly at the top. I think you can throw the
Padres
in
are good too. The Padres
because they have the talent and the potential. Again, for one thing for me that I've always wanted, like we haven't seen the Padres haven't necessarily gotten over the hump in the sense of when the shoe is on their other foot of, hey, you guys aren't like an upstart sort of
when they're getting chased down.
Yeah, you're not like a young team on the rise anymore. Like now there are real expectations on you. Like they've fallen short so far. They've had great, regular season success, and for them, their franchise history making the playoffs. We all remember the wild card series parade celebration that they threw down in Gaslamp the year that the World Series somehow didn't end up mattering, but their wild card series win did. I don't how that works. I'll never understand. But we haven't seen them sort of get over the hump in that regard, and we still do need to see. But yes, they have the pieces, they have the talent, and so put them on there. I think the Cubs have played well too. Like their record is the reason that it is. Like obviously PCA is having a great season for them, and so. But yeah, I think top 2. Like if you had to rank the top 2 in no particular order between the Phillies and Brewers, I think they are the top 2, and then I think Padres are third.
That's where I would go. I would go right now. I would go. I'd go Brewers because of their pitching, then the Phillies, and then the Padres. And I see some people saying that the Padres have their pitching back too, and that's fair. It does not come close to matching up with what the Dodgers rotation looks like, though, 1 through 4 in the postseason. So, yeah, I think those are clearly the 4 best teams in the National League, I think, and then the Cubs are kind of hovering around there somewhere. The Phillies scare me because I think they're a team that can put it all together.
Yeah,
like I think they have a lineup that can get going along with that pitching, similar to the Dodgers. Again, Brewers, they're going to have to win it solely on the strength of their arms, and which it's doable. That is the most important part of October is your starting pitching. But when they face other dominant starting pitching, are they going to be able to score enough?
Yeah. Ray Soto stirring the pot says San Diego's goal is to beat LA. That's their ceiling. So yeah, that would explain why they haven't gotten past that. They haven't. I mean, we've had 3 playoff matchups between the Dodgers and Padres now, right? 2020, 2023 or 3. Yeah, 3.
22. I think the Padres beat them in 22.
Yeah.
They lost. So then they lost to the Diamondbacks in 23, right? The Dodgers did.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because it was back-to-back NL West, and then it was looking like a third year in a row when they went down to the Padres in the NLDS last. So yeah, I mean, it's Dodgers have won 2 out of the 3 playoff matchups. Haven't lost the NL West to the Padres in this, since this decade plus long run. So yeah, maybe Ray Soto is onto something there. All right, a few more questions here. Again, like we will answer baseball ones, but then we're going to close with food, and we're running out of baseball questions, so that's a fair warning to you guys. Hawaiian Kira wants to know who's attending the Freeway Series. I will be there covering for us, DodgerBlue.com, of course. Nick S. is saying Angel Stadium is cheap and easy to get out of. It's not cheap this week, Nick. You have Yamamoto. First of all, I think whenever the Dodgers go to Angel Stadium, the prices are more expensive relative to when the Twins come type thing.
Yeah.
You have Yamamoto pitching Monday. And then Shohei Ohtani. Well, Ohtani obviously is DHing all 3 games, so that alone is raising prices. And then he's pitching on Wednesday, and those prices I think are through the roof right now.
Is Wednesday a night game, Matt?
They're all night games. Yeah, they're all 6:38 starts down in Anaheim.
Yeah.
Not a minute earlier, not a minute later. Let's see what else we have here. So sort of related to this stretch of baseball. Aaron Garcia says 6 games this week. He wants a record prediction. He thinks the Dodgers revenge sweep the Angels and take 2 out of 3 against the Padres. That would be a great week. I mean, that keeps them in first place in the NL West and even opens up some separation.
Yeah, I think they go 4-2.
Do you want to say how those games go? Is it 2 out of 3 in each one?
I think they win both series. Yeah.
I could see that. I agree. I think, look, like sweep. I know that the Dodgers were on the doorstep there. I've always said sweeping a team is difficult. Doesn't matter how good or poor your opponent is. It's challenging. Like you don't. Things have to line up. But yeah, I could see. I'm with you, Anthony. I think I'll go 4-2 as well, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right, a few more questions here. Let's see, we did that one. Dr. V, we discussed this a little earlier, but do you want to quickly, do you think Conforto makes the playoff roster?
Yeah, he'll make, unless he's hurt, he's going to make it.
I'm going no. I think that's when they finally, short of, which I don't think we're going to see a turnaround. I started to think maybe we're seeing it before the All-Star break, and now it's sort of reverted back to what the season has been. So I'm saying no. I think they want maybe Ha-Seong Kim's speed. I think Kike is on it because he's an October legend, obviously, at this point.
I think the only way it happens, look, and when I say I think he'll be on it, that's not based on merit. I think it's based on roster construction at this point. For it not to happen and for him to not be on the playoff roster, Tommy Edman's ankle is going to have to get really well, really quick. Because I think he's the only option in the outfield that ends up knocking Conforto off the roster.
Okay. I think we could see Kike in center field and then Pages.
But Kike, like, I mean, are you going to throw a guy who's hitting 200 out there too? Like, I think that they'll buy into his reputation and his history in October. I mean, we've seen it in the past. Like they run him out there. Totally. But even last year, it wasn't like he was starting every game.
There you have it, Dr. V. We still have
it's going to be
a month plus
a debate for almost 2 months going forward.
Yeah. Miguel, I'm not sure if this is the Miguel who hates when we do food stuff. So if it is, this is especially why I'm throwing up his baseball question to remind him that we spend, about an hour and a half doing all baseball before closing with food for 2 or 3 minutes. He wants to know, how do the Dodgers use Kershaw in the playoffs? So this is another interesting question, similar to the Kike Conforto one. I am of the mind that there is no shot that the Dodgers don't have Kershaw on their playoff rosters if he's healthy.
I think he is I'm with you. I have been talked into this stance. I was not, like a week or 2 ago, I was of the mind that, like, I didn't think he'd be on the playoff roster. I've changed my mind since then. And I think it was the Dodger Blue guys. I think we were talking about it that's changed my mind. He is going to end up being, I think, a break glass in case of emergency kind of starter, or maybe like a bulk guy if needed. And I think the reason they're going to be able to do that is because Ohtani does not take up a pitching spot on the roster. So because of the Ohtani rule, it's going to allow them, I think, to carry Kershaw as part of the active roster, and they'll use him if they get into a situation where they feel like he can be useful or they really need him in some way.
Yeah, and Miguel Ramirez is clarifying it's not the same Miguel. He loves our food questions. So Miguel, thank you. I'm even happier now that I put your question up on the screen. That was the right choice by me. Let's see. Eden wants to know ideal playoff path. This is too hard to. I think this is kind of a fool's errand a little bit, and I also am of the mind of, hey, whoever your opponent is your opponent. So Eden, the way I'll answer this is just win the NL West and try to get the best record in the National League. If not, make sure you get one of the top 2 records in the National League, and then let the chips fall however they may after that.
It's a long shot still. but I think the Dodgers are 5.5 games back behind the Brewers for the best record. I think that's the last time I saw it. The Dodgers have the easiest schedule going forward, strength of schedule in the league, and I think the Brewers have one of the toughest. So it's possible, but it's a long shot. So I'm with you. I think just win the division, and then you let it play out from there. I honestly don't think there's an ideal path, just because if they're less than 100% in the rotation, it's going to be so hard anyway. If they are, with those 4 guys healthy and ready to rock, bring on whoever you want first. I don't really care, because I think the Dodgers are better than them.
There's that, and then, but I think there's also, like, it depends on what the lineup is doing too. Like if Mookie is back to struggle, if Freddie is like the only one who has kind of come out of the slump, out of all, they're slumping players, if you will, like, that's trouble too. Like, it may not matter who you're playing. You could get, the number 1 seed and play the lowest seeded opponent, and you could be in a little bit of, you could lose 1-0 games, right? Like we've seen stuff like that happen.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, Eden, we'll have to bring that up again once the playoff seeding and bracket and all that maybe looks a little bit more clear in the next a month, 5 weeks or so. Let's see. I don't want to repeat any of these. GI was saying, we've mentioned Kike. He's saying, is it even realistic to think that he will be back? I think it is now. Late last week, I wasn't as convinced, but now Kike has started to do some baseball activities again. He's going to be swinging a bat, taking batting practice, and then beginning a rehab assignment at some point in the near future, and then getting ready to return once active rosters expand. So he should at least be back. I guess at that point, if you want to question how healthy will he be, will he make it to the playoffs? I mean, that's anyone's guess. But as of now, it looks like he should certainly be around. All right, let's see. We have a few more. I think this is the only baseball one we have left. Court, the Crusader, says, will the Dodgers get over this loss and sweep the Angels the next 3 days? Anthony and I both said no. We still think they take 2 out of 3 against the Angels, 2 out of 3 against the Padres.
I'm open to being surprised by the sweep.
There we go. All right. I think that's probably it for baseball questions. So Hawaiian Kira, semi-baseball related. So of all the bobbleheads that have come up and are projected to come out still this year, do you have a top 3 for 2025? And I can try pulling them up if you've forgotten any of them.
Yeah, I unless they just recently happened, I've kind of forgotten all about them.
So here, I can let me read you. You want me to read you the list?
Sure.
We have the Ohtani MVP bobblehead, where he's holding the 2024 MVP award. Freddie Freeman, his walk-off grand slam from the World Series.
That's clutch right there. I like that one.
Dave Roberts kind of pointing up, celebrating when the Dodgers won. Mookie Betts running to first base, the Garrett Cole game, if you will.
That's right. I forgot about that one.
Shohei Ohtani sliding for his 50. It's the first of the 50-50. So this one is sliding, the stolen base. Then there's also the home run hitting one. There's Vin Scully. Excuse me. There's Will Smith pumping his fist, celebrate. I think it was Final Out is where they took that from.
I thought Tommy the one that they did recently was good.
Yeah.
Even though
Tommy Edman. You probably forgot about this one, Ice Cube. Which, by the way,
I like the Ice Cube one.
I know we have. Oh, sorry, if my face was zoomed in, so I was on a different screen reading. My apologies if you were getting a whole lot of me. I know we have a lot of Lakers fans. People follow Lakers Nation. Ryan Ward and Luca Rosano over on that side interviewed Ice Cube talking about the Lakers and his Big 3 league. So definitely check that out.
The Ice Cube one was good. I like that bobblehead.
Blake Snell, Yamamoto, Ron Say, Legends of Dodger Baseball, Fernando, Teoscar. You said Roki. The Kobe one, obviously, just came.
I like the Kobe one because it's Kobe, but I did not like that he was taking an at-bat in the Laker uniform. I wish they would have put him in the Dodger uniform like he used to wear when he was behind the plate. Like, put him in that uniform and let him do it. I think that would have been cooler.
Yeah. All right. So there you go.
I mean, the mural going up, though, of Kobe. He's doing his jersey out celebration, but it's a Dodger tank top.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's cool. All right. So yeah, that I would say. So do you have a top 3 list from that? And there's still Kershaw's coming out still. Joe Davis,
the Freddie Grand Slam, the Ice Cube one. That one was really cool, and then the Ohtani MVP one I like.
Okay, I'll go no particular order Freddie Grand Slam, Kobe, and I think the Kershaw 3,000 strikeouts one is pretty.
That'll
cool.
be cool. Yeah,
A
yeah.
nice touch that they added that. Excuse me, I feel like I'm sort of losing my voice all of a sudden. Let's see what other questions were coming in here as that was on the other screen. My apologies again. My face was extremely close. Anthony, you should have warned me. You should have told me to back up. All right. I think we'll close with a couple food ones here. Mick says, best frozen pizza for a quick or late night bite.
Ooh. It's not like the one I like to get. It's not like DiGiorno's or anything like that. It's like the Ralph's brand, like big frozen pizza. Like that one is surprisingly pretty good. For like late night, I don't know what to eat kind of thing. Yeah, I guess I don't really have a favorite frozen pizza. Like I eat them. Like I'm not against that, but I don't know that I have a go-to.
That's what I was trying to think about. I haven't done frozen pizza in a while. I used to do DiGiorno, but then I felt like we found one. Actually, Sprouts had a couple different sort of like their store brand type thing where they put like I think a ricotta cheese on it or something, but it was a little bit different. I think it might have also been with a vodka sauce instead of marinara, so it was kind of a little bit of a different frozen pizza, but that was pretty good. Yeah, Parker's saying why go to frozen pizza when you can do Little Caesars? Little Caesars, their crazy bread is very good.
It's still pretty good. The crazy bread is still pretty good. I don't like Little Caesars anymore unless it's like I like the deep dish there. That's a solid one.
Yeah. David says, "How could anyone hate talking about food?" David, we agree with it. We don't get it. Maybe they haven't seen enough of David's lamplighter tweets. To come around on food. I don't know. Another one from Court says, dinner time, no food at home. What do you order off the top of your head? For me, this comes down to like what am I in the mood for type thing. Like there's not like one sort of answer, I guess set answer.
Yes. If I have to pick one thing, and it's just like, you know what, it's a general. I think I'm going tacos.
Okay.
Street tacos.
I feel like I probably end up
or pizza. I see Kara go order pizza. Pizza is always the easy go-to too, though. Like, yeah.
I feel like I end up. I mean, I try not. Like, I would probably end up with eating some sort of burger from somewhere, just because, like, I enjoy those. Yeah, I don't know. Not really like a set. Again, like this for me will depend on what have I eaten, what sort of sounds good, and then kind of go from there. All right, last one, unless we get something that sneaks in here. Another one from Miguel says best option of fries, and he puts regular, curly, crinkle, or garlic. I'm laughing because I know where you stand on garlic fries.
yeah. I am out on garlic, especially the fraud Oracle Park garlic fries, which are overpriced and not very good. I say curly fries because, and then typically curly fries have like some sort of different seasoning, not just salt. So I usually go with curly. Like if I'm at Carl's Jr., like the crisp cuts though they're getting in the bag.
Did you know that I went to Carl's maybe a few weeks ago now? I hadn't been there in a while, but they changed their crisp. They're now called waffle, and they do look a little different. They're waffle fries now.
Oh, okay. I have not been in a while, admittedly.
Yeah, so that caught me by surprise too. Like they called them waffle fries, and I thought, oh, like did I just call them by the wrong name? But then once I gátt them, I saw that the crisp cut hat looked like kind of the tic-tac-toe design where you could see through. These you can't see through. There's like potato wedge in the wedding, if it makes sense.
About. Yeah, I know.
So it's they changed it. But I'm with you. Crinkle cut fries. I don't know if this will be a popular opinion or a hot take or anything, but the curly fries I think are extremely overrated. I'm not a fan of it all. They would be last on my list here. I'd go crinkle, garlic, regular, and then curly.
That's fair. I like Jack in the Box curly fries.
See, I think that they're so overrated. Like Yeah, like I know that they're known for them, but I just don't care. I don't care for them. But again, that's just me. Court saying waffle fries from Chick-fil-A are the best. They do. Chick-fil-A does have very good
those
French
hit.
fries.
Those are good.
All right. I think that's going to do it. Again, thank you everybody for joining us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We got up to about 1,500 people. I know that it wasn't the best afternoon with how the game ended up going, but we appreciate everybody who came in to join us and discuss, some different things and look ahead. I know is at the risk of, hey, there's still a month plus to play. Can't be taking things for granted with the playoffs just yet, but I think Anthony and I both agree that the Dodgers will be there in some capacity, as bleak as things have looked at some point. Was something you wanted to?
I was just going to say my general takeaway from a kind of a crappy Sunday afternoon that we had to watch was Glasnow looked mostly good, and this rotation is healthy and rounding into shape. This is the rotation we thought we were getting going into the season. It's finally starting to come into fruition. That is the reason for the optimism that I have around this team.
Yeah, definitely. And like we were saying, they still today was frustrating. Not going to excuse it. They still took 2 out of 3. Could have been worse. This could have been the one game that they were going to win, and instead they ended up getting swept. But it was 2 out of 3 against the American League leading Blue Jays. And now it's on to Anaheim. And if you missed it, Yamamoto was supposed to start today. They pushed him back to Monday to give him an extra day of rest. So the pitchers down in Anaheim are going to be Yamamoto on Monday, Evan Sheehan on Tuesday, Shohei Ohtani on Wednesday. I will be there covering it for DodgerBlue.com. So make sure, like I said, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, DodgerBlue1958, come do so. We'll have a bunch of videos up from me being down there. And then, of course, the weekend series against the Padres, we're going to be covering that as well. A quick programming note, Thursday's show, it is an off day for the Dodgers. Jeff and Bruce are still doing a show. It's just going to be at 6 p.m., I believe. So a little bit earlier than, or maybe that was this last one. So maybe I'm misspeaking, actually. I might hold the phone on that. Jeff will give you guys some clarity on Tuesday. Anthony, we've joked about it. Every day is Wednesday in the baseball season. One thing that I can tell you guys about, it is 2 weeks from now, but maybe start making plans. Jeff and Anthony will be going live the way we did today, immediately after the Dodgers and Padres finish down in San Diego. So that will be another kind of early Sunday post-game show, if you will, instead of kind of the 6, 7, or 8 that we tend to do sometimes. So 2 weeks from now, but we'll keep giving you guys reminders. Jeff and Anthony will be back Tuesday night after the Angels game. That'll be our normal post-game show. So just stick around for that, and we'll keep you guys updated. And again, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, DodgerBlue1958. Come read all our articles, DodgerBlue.com, and we're podcasting as well. Apple, Spotify, and all that good stuff. So once again, Anthony, thank you. I know your knee is you're recovering, so we appreciate you still sticking out and coming to talk Dodger baseball with us. And thank you, everybody who joined us. That's Anthony. I'm Matthew, and we will see you guys next time.